Hello, welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
And we have 5 rounds in the books and a 6th round and the final round of Swiss to bring you. These players are playing for top 8. Ross, why don't you give us a rundown of the 2 players we're going to be watching this round?
So we're going to be watching James Mangus on four-color Beans, or four-color
Yep.
Omnath, playing against Daniel Hovatter on Jund Sagavan. So going to be a grindy one. Both decks capable of playing very long games, generating a lot of card advantage. There is an ace up Daniel's sleeve, though. He came prepared for the Beans. Has a main deck copy of a Back to Nature.
No shot. No way.
All I do is look at the deck list and
That's
report.
fine. Back to nature in the main deck of a modern deck.
Yeah.
Is the Beans that out of control?
I mean, this Jund Sagavan deck is supposedly, good against Rakdos Evoke.
Sure.
So maybe you can just afford, to
Kill your wicked
bias
roll.
your deck against Beans. So it's been going pretty well so far for Hovatter. Looking at his matchups, he has beaten four color earlier in the tournament. Beat it round one. His only loss actually was round 2 to Young Dingo. Beat Rakdos Evoke in another round. Also beat 5-color Zoo, which is probably a deck that is beaning, as those decks do. And another Rakdos. So has played basically nothing but Beans and Evoke.
Yeah,
all
that's
day.
about right. Most people, I mean, there were 13 Bean decks and 13 Evoke decks, so
Yeah.
what are you going to
It was
do?
about half our field.
The opponent on the 4-color Omnath, James Mangus, is playing Beans and has the Shardless Agent Blubbered Elf build and even has the technology Eagles of the North.
Yeah, one copy. Get another white card in there for Solitude. We'll see if that comes up. And just before we go down there, to let you all know at home, how the bracket is sort of shaped up going into this last round. We had 4 players at 4-0. They all drew in round 5. They're all drawing again here in round 6.
Right.
They're in.
Yeah, and who are those 4 players, just so people home know who to keep an eye out for?
So it's Michael Blythe on Demir Mill.
Oh, Mill into the top 8. Let's go.
Justin Pecoraro, who we saw on Golgari Yawgmoth a
Yes.
couple rounds ago. Young Dingo on Rakdos Evoke.
Nice.
And May French, who we saw early in the day on Teamer Rhinos.
Heck yeah.
So congrats to them. They're locked for our top 8. We have 3 matches in our feature match area right now, including the one we just talked about, that are matches between players that are 4-1. So these are straight win and ins. Winner goes in, loser, is not 100% out, but very likely
99% out.
We also
there
have-
might be one person at 4-2 this week said.
We have one other player at 4-1 who got paired down. And so if they win, that creates a clean cut at X02 or higher.
Yep.
So 14 points or higher. And so the X2s, 4-2s are not going to make it in. If that person loses, then one person is going to win the tiebreaker lottery and sneak into our top 8 at 4-2. Still have a chance of taking this one home.
Alrighty, well, the players are in the feature match area and ready to go. So let's head on down there and see who takes it down between James Mangus and Daniel Hovatter playing Jund Sagavan versus that Bean Cascade strategy. All right, and on your left, James Mangus playing the Bean deck on the draw. Daniel Hovatter going to start it off here with a turn 1 fetch off of Verdant Catacombs. My guess, Ragavan, but could be something like Thoughtseize.
Ragavan would be quite nice. There's not actual 1-mana interaction from the Omnath deck because of this new Cascade package. They're playing Leyline Binding, which isn't 1 mana until later in the game when you have a bunch of land types. Fire, Ice, that's going to cost 2. So if you want to answer this Ragavan, should a Ragavan happen, you need to usually use an Evoke creature. But
Yep. We have a Thoughtseize here, though, instead, so no pressure, but we do get to take away the Beans if we so choose. We got Beans, Jace Wilder of Mysteries, a Teferi, Time Raveler, and Omnath Locus of Creation. 3 lands that includes the Goth Triumph and 2 white fetches. And a really nice opener from Angus, but this Thoughtseize is going to take away the Beans and maybe take away all the wind out of his sails.
yeah, no Evoke Elementals, not a ton of interaction, just the bounce from the Teferi. So it's a bit of a slow hand here for Mangus, but a good mix of lands and spells, and that's something you want in these mid-range matchups.
Wow, interesting. Hovatter actually had the turn 1 Ragavan, but choosing to hold it in hand to maybe dash next turn.
Yeah.
Okay, Bean down.
This is a closed deck list event, so while we know every card the players are playing, the players might not. So, if you're not sure of the matchup, makes sense to lead with the Thoughtseize and clear the way for this Ragavan.
Okay, Lightning Bolt's to pick up. We're going to play Urza Saga. My guess, dash Ragavan, and then play the Thoughtseize off of the treasure. We'll see if that's what Hovatter wants to do. Here it comes. Bang the drum. 2 damage in treasure. We're going to flip the top card off of Mangus. Finds a forest. That might be Something worthwhile for later if Magus goes to fetch and wants a basic.
Yeah, definitely something that Mangus is going to have to remember over the course of this game. That is no longer a fetchable object in the library.
You could say deck. You don't gotta correct yourself on saying or deck. All right, Thoughtseize number 2 comes off, and we see a hand that picked up one land, and we're gonna take Teferi Time Raveler, leaving Mangus with just 2 4-drops in hand along with those lands. Ragavan goes back to hand. Mangus draws an island, another brick.
The question for me now is, does Hovatter have a third land here to start activating the Urza Saga and
All right.
generate a pretty nice battlefield?
You cannot convince me that. Can we get James Mangus back on the screen? You cannot convince me that that is not Aspiring Spike. I'm sorry. He's just put on a hat. He came down to play the beans, but he wanted to be incognito, and here he is.
No third land from Hovatter, so not able to activate the Urza Saga. Instead, just going to dash the Rogavan again. So can activate the Saga on the way going out and make one construct.
Yeah.
But Hovatter going to be a little short on mana.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Hovatter, if he had just played that Eternal and Ragavan, would be riding those extra treasures here, being able to cast all the stuff all the way up the curve while activating the Urza Saga, but instead just dealing a couple damage, getting a treasure, and passing back. That up the Beanstalk would have been a great cast there if that was available to him.
Yeah, so, Hovatter's still in good shape, but could have really been running away with this game. Does have a Springleaf Drum to find off the Urza Saga, so could make a token, find a drum, and have a little bit of extra mana, maybe hard cast to the Ragavan. I think there might be a Ren and 6 in hand, yeah.
Okay, so what do we do if you're Hovatter? Hovatter? I think I've said his name 8 times differently. Daniel Hovatier. Gonna float a colors here.
You got to start doing it with the with like a silent H, Ovater.
Oh yeah, Courvoisier, but Hovatier. All right, we're gonna fetch in response to the Saga. It is still technically on the battlefield, I believe, because it doesn't go to the graveyard until after Chapter 3 has resolved.
Yeah. And really no value out of the Urza Saga for Hovatter.
Oh, perhaps playing around Pithing Needle. Just going to go ahead and fetch Raglan Triumph to make sure that we don't get hosed by the often sideboarded card, but occasional main deck.
And it is in Hovatter's main deck. Has Pithing Needle, Soul Glide Lantern, Springleaf Drum, and a Shadow Spear.
That would have been a nice
And a
little
Haywarmer.
Stone Rain. That would have been sweet.
So 5 different options. I imagine it'll be the Springleaf Drum. Because we could play Ragavan and then still have 2 mana. Then play Ren and 6.
Get Saga
Tick
back
up.
and start ticking up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, it looks like Hovatter agrees with you. And that should be the sequence if we're getting the Springleaf Drum. We'll see if that's what he wants to do.
We're now getting into the mana territory where Mangus is going to be able to cast the Omnath, Aedra's Solitude, and start playing some really powerful cards. Hovatter had a window early in this game to get very far ahead, and the judgment call to lead on Thoughtseize instead of Ragavan, and then missing a land drop has really prevented him from making the most out of the early stumble from Mangus.
All right, Ross, you're an old school legacy guy. How often did you have the choice between a 1-drop creature and a Thoughtseize on turn 1 in the dark, and you chose creature and then died?
Couple times.
Yeah, it does not feel good. I wonder if Hovatter is a legacy player.
He'll live with it.
Yeah. All right.
I frequently would just play an elf on turn 1 against Storm and just be like, if you turn 1 or turn 2 me, sure.
Sure.
But I need to, be able to pressure you alongside my Thoughtseize.
All right. Well, we're going to get back Verdant Catacombs. We're going to go a fetching. We still have 1 floating from the Urza Saga. We'll see if we can use that mana to play something like Tarmogoyf for another 2-drop here.
And maybe a Bowmaster.
Yep.
There's 1 copy of Questing Druid in Daniel's list.
That might be one that you want to increase on in this deck. I think Tarmogoyf's days might be numbered.
I think Tarmogoyf's days were numbered about 5 years ago.
Yeah, but there's always been a couple of decks that still kind of want a 2-cost large monster. But now, if you're playing red and green, Questing Druid is a large monster if you untap with it, right? And, it just gives you a little bottle draw in the meanwhile. It's pretty great.
And there's so much incidental graveyard hate around these days that can make the Goyf worse, too.
All right, Hovatter, what you got? This has been about a 4-minute Urza Saga activation. I take that back. It's been about 1 minute, but still.
Yeah. We had to shuffle off Saga, and then we're fetching and shuffling. It's just classic Modern.
Yeah.
Looks
We
like
have,
there's a Thoughtseize.
yeah, could go for that to take care of the Omnath.
Yeah, that's pretty good because there's a Bolt in hand that will not deal with the Omnath.
Okay, Mangus here has a tough option here. Can go pitch Solitude, and eat the Rogavan, and then the Jace is guaranteed to get knocked off with a Thoughtseize, but instead just says, hey, that results. I'll see if I can draw something else next turn.
Now, Jace Wielder of Mysteries starts on 3 or 4.
I believe it starts on, well, I don't know. We'll just look. I don't want to speculate when I don't have to. It starts on 4,
4,
takes up to
plus us to
5.
5. So Bolt plus Rogavan will take it down, not just Bolt plus Ren and 6.
Okay. Draw for turn. James Mangus goes for Jace. 3 of the lands do tap for blue, so triple blue card on turn
Yeah.
4 in a 4-color or 5-color mana base. Excuse me.
And James says Milieu. The cards in my deck are precious because he knows that this Jace is not long for this world, or likely not long for this world, and that means he can't deck, and it's very easy for the Bean deck to deck. Though with 2 beans down, maybe a little harder.
All right, we're gonna plus Ren and 6. We're gonna get back to Saga.
Oh yeah.
We have Bowmaster as well. That's a nice pickup for Hovater.
So now if we already plus the Ren, we can't minus Ren, Bowmaster plus Bolt.
That's okay. Bolt's not the greatest card in this matchup anyway, and Bowmaster can be a nice little surprise on some turn.
I'm just saying we got to use the Rogavan attack. We can't attack them, get another
Yes.
treasure.
Good call.
But now we just get to leave up the Bowmaster. And I can't tell what the last card in Hovater's hand is.
Let me see if I can remember. I can't, but I know Bowmaster's there. Hovater's dealt himself tons of damage, already down to 8 from the Thoughtseizes and the lands. Moving to the end step, and it looks like Hovater's going to go ahead and play the Bowmaster. We're going to deal 1, make an Orc Army.
And we know there's a Solitude in Mangus's hand, so have to be cognizant of that. Looks like a lot of powerful cards, but Urza Saga plus Ren and 6 is also a very powerful combination. We've reached the Haymaker stage, the Battle Cruiser stage, at least as Battle Cruisery as modern mid-range gets.
All right, land for turn. Ren and 6 can tick up here. Get back a land.
A little bit of an odd sequence. Hovater effectively leaks a little bit of information to Mangus about what he has in hand.
And now if you're Hovater, if you attack with everything, the Solitude eats Rogavan and then blocks the Bowmaster. Could also just attack with Rogavan only. Could also just pass turn. Looks like Mangus gonna go back his way. No attacks from Hovater. Gonna lean on the Saga with Ren and 6 to bury Mangus in the late game if he's not able to pressure this Planeswalker in some way.
Yeah, and I could see an attack with Rogavan at that point. The treasure has some value because it's going to pump your constructs. But the construct is still going to be big enough because of the Springleaf Drum to trade with a Solitude. If I'm Hovater, I'm also building towards a Ren and 6 ultimate.
Right. You have Lightning Bolt in the grave. A couple lands in hand now thanks to plussing. Solitude eats the Bowmaster. We're going to go back James's way. Top card is another land. Not great, but his hand is pretty good now. We have Shardless Agent we can play. That'll hit Beans of the Beanstalk guaranteed.
Finally get some beans going. This chili looking a little sparse.
Nice. All right. We're cascading. The hit is a bean. Guaranteed. The rest go to the bottom in a random order, and we draw a card off the Beanstalk. And now all of our pitch cards like Fury and Solitude become super juice, replacing themselves. If we're ever able to find another Beanstalk, all those pitch effects start gaining cards.
But only one Beanstalk left in the deck. One in the graveyard from an early discard spell, one exiled from the Rogavan, but
Okay. All you need's 2.
has a bunch of Cascaders to find it as well.
All right, Solitude can challenge the Ren and 6 here, but likely going to trade off with Rogavan. Mangus thinking on what he wants to do in terms of pressuring, but thanks to that Urza Saga deciding not to attack, going to play max defense, and now I think we're just in Hovater's wheelhouse thanks to the Urza Sagas and the Ren and 6 keeping the pressure on over the next few turns.
Yeah, we've reached a pretty interesting spot in this game. Normally, you got to feel like the four-color deck is pretty favored here. They're the sort of bigger deck. They're, once we get to the stage where you got a bunch of lands, the elementals are really powerful draws because you get to, keep them around and their bodies are quite relevant. But Urza Saga is still really, really good.
Yep, it is one of the most powerful lands ever printed. Not only does it make multiple threats, but it also can tutor up some powerful 0 and 1 cost artifacts from your deck. We see it oftentimes with things like Pithing Needle, Springleaf Drum, even Mishra's Bauble. But here, we'll see what he's going to go get. But the story is that Ren and 6 returning the Saga over and over is able to generate infinity constructs.
Can get a Haywire Mite and answer the Up the Beanstalk.
I like that. Oh, I like that.
Going to be a little awkward if he does that since he tapped the green mana.
Yeah, he's got a Springleaf Drum.
Yeah.
You can even use the Might to power the Springleaf Drum.
Yeah. So you don't lose any other creature tapping. Yeah, I like just keeping the beans low. You've got your card advantage engine already online. You're going to have another Urza Saga. It's not like the other options are not great. Like Shadow Spear, you're not trying to get that aggressive just yet. There's nothing really here to Pithing Needle. And Soul Guide Lantern, there's nothing in the graveyard that matters. So, yeah. Hovatter agrees, gets the Haywire Mite.
Yep, now we can take up the Ren 6 to ultimate status. We can send in with one of the constructs if we want. They're currently too large to single block. Okay, plus Saga.
Play that.
All right.
Yeah, so we didn't see Hovatter take full advantage of the early stumble from Mangus, but what Hovatter was able to do was set up this incredible card advantage engine of Ren and 6 Urza Saga, and that is doing plenty to take over this game.
All right, well, we send in with everything. Mangus going to get dumpstered here a bit by a second Orcish Bowmaster. Is going to knock off Solitude, punch through little damage, even though we gain some life back. It's going to grow our Orc, and now we are going to eat the Beanstalk with the Haywire Mite, and everything kind of trades off and leaves Hovatter just in an overwhelming position unless Mangus has a Miracle Turn.
Yeah, we've got the Ren on 7. We have Saga ready to go off. We have 2 constructs already and a Bowmaster to nothing for Mangus. I think it's a Bloodbraid Elf back and just a couple lands.
Bloodbraid Elf, Fire Ice. Okay, we're cooking.
So we get like fire, 1 to Bowmaster, 1 to Ren.
Yeah, that keeps it off ultimate, and then we play Bloodbraid Elf. Get a bean. It's the last bean. Although I guess we can, instead of bean, we can hit Teferi. And Teferi might be able to bounce a construct. Let's pressure the Ren slightly. So, all right. We're cooking. It's good to not be dead. All right. Okay. That's the thing.
Hitting Teferi instead of Bean is definitely better here. Still get to draw a card, but also get to deal with the untapped construct. Can freely attack in. Get the Ren down to 3. So now it's nowhere even close to ultimate. But you still have to deal with the Urza Saga looping.
Yeah, but that's a problem for next turn, James. Ooh, this turn, James.
There's a Fury. If you attack the Ren down to 3, oh no, we're going face. We could have attacked the Ren down to 3, and then next turn the Fury answers it. And then we're almost home free at that point.
I mean, home free minus 3 more constructs or whatever. Because there's definitely going to be one that hits this turn.
Right. Urza Saga goes to 2. Now, are you tempted if you're Hovatter here to minus the Ren to deal with the Teferi as a clean answer there, so that you can now attack James's life total?
Yeah, seems like that's what he wants to do. I like that play. I think it's unlikely and also unnecessary to ultimate the Ren to win the game. Yeah. And this turn, I think getting the Teferi off the table matters quite a bit.
And we could even make a construct main phase to pump the other construct, attack for an extra point.
All right, this is a naturally drawn Pithing Needle. James is going to fetch in response. Not the best as Pithing Needle in the matchup.
Yeah, probably just named Teferi Time Raveler.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe name. Good call.
Still good to get the other Teferi off the battlefield so you don't have to worry about the static ability.
How baller would it have been if Daniel goes Needle kind of casually. James is like, I'll fetch down to 9. And then you're like, okay, attack for 3, double bolt you.
mean, we're if we make a construct main phase here, we're attacking for 4, putting
Yeah.
Mangus to 6 when you've got a bolt in hand.
All right, let's see how Hovatter wants to progress.
And you still don't have to crack the fetch because you can make a construct and have now then you have drum up.
Yep, but
I,
we're gonna decide to fetch up maybe another basic. The basic forest can probably come into play here, save
Yeah.
us a little bit of life.
Doesn't make a big difference.
We'll get confirmation on the Pith and Needle name in just a moment, but my guess to Fairy Time Reveler, like Ross said, seems reasonable.
Got to be either that or just a a fetch land. I guess. Can you name Eagles of the North?
Technically, yes. Could name Eagles of the North and prevent the cycling. That was an old trick we used to beat Astral Slide back in the day. Sometimes we just name Forgotten Cave or Secluded Step, and they could just not do anything.
And yeah, did make the construct main phase, so both players down to 6.
Another land for James, and we're gonna attack very quickly here for 3.
And you probably bolt to play around Fury, because if you block and your opponent has Fury, you have a 4/4 with 3 damage on it. You put 1 on that, 3 on the other. The first one dies. Now you have a 3/3 with 3 damage on it.
Yeah, Manga says I'm good.
Oh, it just says
No
take
blocks. Down to 3.
it. So Fury deals with one of them.
Yep. But now you just go to your turn, see if you draw a removal spell. Right, you have Bolt for the Fury.
Well, yeah, you bolt for Fury. You're
but
going
you
to
save it in
get the
case you find
construct up
something
to
else.
a Shadow Spear, just gets it to a 6/6. Otherwise, you
good
have the
call.
last point with the Ren.
All right,
So
so
just make a construct, search for Shadow Spear is enough.
yeah, plus the Ren and 6 damage as well.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter number 3. We're gonna make a construct. This should be game over in favor of Daniel Hovater.
I do think the Shadow Spear, I guess Shadow Spear and Soul Guide Lantern are the last ones, but we'll get the Shadow Spear. And Magus put up a pretty decent fight, got Hovatter to 3.
Yeah, I mean he got his hand ripped apart early
Yeah.
and was able to claw back a little bit, but unfortunately Ren and 6 plus Saga pretty good in those grindy games.
Yeah.
And Daniel Hovatter wins game number 1. As these players are reaching for their sideboards, they're going to take a look at their 15 and see if they have any help coming their way. And while they do that, I'll have Ross look over their sideboards as well and give his expert analysis. Ross, what you got for me?
Okay. James Mangus has 3 Obsidian Charmaw, 1 Lavinia Azorius Renegade, 2 Inevitable Betrayal, 2 Commandeer, 1 Magmatic Sinkhole, 3 Force of Vigor, 1 Chalice of the Void, and 2 Leyline of Sanctity. I like the Sinkhole. My question is, do I like Force of Vigor? Is Urza Saga important enough in this matchup that I'm willing to bring in a narrow answer like that? You know your opponent's also going to have assorted artifacts that you can hit. Sometimes you draw it late, so you have to hit a construct with it. I think some number are good. I'm not sure if I want all 3, but I would definitely consider them, and I'm leaning towards them.
Yeah, it's hard though, right? Because the deck clearly has very few artifacts other than the Saga targets and the Saga itself as like an enchantment for it. So, I mean, you could just side in 1 or 2, and that's probably okay. But if you sideboard in 3 or 4, then you're probably going to draw too many of them.
Yeah. Then going on Hovatter's side, 1 Boseiju Who Endures, 2 Alpine Moon, 2 Engineered Explosives, 1 Pyrite Spellbomb, 1 Stone of Eric, 2 Damping Sphere, 1 Assassin's Trophy, 1 Terra Sunder, 1 Shielder's Edict, a second copy of Haywire Might, and the heavy hitter here, 2 copies of Phyrexian Crusader.
Oh yeah, that's danky.
Have you ever tried to answer that one with Leyline Binding, Fire, Solitude, and Fury? Even Teferi doesn't bounce it.
Wow. Might have found the card that is able to take it home.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear to me that Hovatter liked his Rakdos matchup, and he has a lot of haymakers for this Bean matchup, and it's paying off here. He's up a game, 1 win away from making it into our top 8.
All right. While these players are shuffling up, I'd like to take this time to thank our sponsors. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub helps us recharge after a long day with good friends and food. And we thank them for giving us some nice dinner last night, and we'll probably eat there again either tonight or tomorrow. Thanks again to Ultimate Guard. They are the top TCG supplier of awesome products like the Katana sleeves, the Boulder and Archive deck boxes. Make sure to check your local game store today and ask for Ultimate Guard products. And if they don't got them, say, hey, why not? Also, thank you to G Fuel Energy Formula for keeping us energized on these long tournament days. 6 rounds of Swiss plus top 8 all in one day can be rather draining, and it's hard to get through the day without a little bit of extra energy. So thanks to G Fuel Energy Formula as well.
Okay, no updates on any of our backup matches here as I frantically refresh my Melee page.
Okay, players here are shuffling up for game number 2. We saw Hoveder. I don't know.
Hovetier?
Hovadier. He's up a game with John Sagavin. And we'll see if he's able to take down game number 2.
Looks like this was a quick mulligan on the 7 for Mangus.
Yep. Either no land or a lot of land, one of the two.
And do I see is that a Thoughtseize in Hovader's hand?
Yeah, I think so.
There's probably no card you want more in your opening hand after your opponent takes a mulligan.
Him to Torok?
Oh,
I'm trying to think. It's hard.
Yeah, I just like getting him on turn 1.
Look, I gotta talk to chat real quick. This dude named Bob Burglar said old Tandy doesn't want to do the Wall of Flame at Wings, etc. And you're right.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to walk out sweating, crying, screaming, you know? I'm trying to have a nice night.
Scenario.
Yeah. And that's before I even get the wings.
Yeah. Assuming the walking out, I think, is a little generous.
Oh, yeah. I'll be crawling out after doing the wall. All right, we're underway. James Mangus leads with Hallowed Fountain after putting one on bottom. He's on 6 cards. Daniel Hovatier. I'm just going to assume he's Creole.
Hovader.
Basically Gambit is how I hear him in my brain. Oh, sugar.
Okay. Pretty solid hand here for Mangus. Needs to draw some lands. You got a couple Cascaders in Charlotte's Agent and Bloodbird Elf, and a couple Pitch Elementals in Solitude and Fury.
You're a little shrimpier than an etouffee.
Yeah. No surprise that Hovader takes the cheap card there, the only card that is hard castable before turn 4. So Hovader once again going to have a little bit of time to set up his own engines, his own card advantage sources, and start them rolling before Mangus really even gets established in this game.
All right. Well, let's see what the turn 2 play is for Daniel. Has a lot of options, but none look that appealing. I see a Haywire Might, but usually you want to save that one until it has a valid target. Otherwise, your opponent gets to blow it up in a chain like Fury.
Yeah, this would be, here you'd rather have something like, Orcish Bowmaster, even a Tarmogoyf would be fine because, my opponent mulligans and I saw it on the play and I Thoughtseize them, and then they have to, pitch cast a Solitude for no additional value to deal with my Goyf. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Discard spells really doing a number on James, taking away the Beanstalks and virtual Beanstalks over the course of the last 2 games. Here's a Springleaf Drum. We're going to play Haywire Might. Can we do something with the 1 mana? Looks like we do have another Thoughtseize. Wow, nice sequence from Daniel. And a hand with Bloodbraid Elf, Solitude, Fury, and a land. You have to imagine we're just going to take the Bloodbraid Elf and hope that the pitch spells don't add up really well.
Yeah, I'm inclined to do the same. Just a little awkward for Daniel to have drawn multiple of those tutor targets for Urza Saga. They're not very powerful cards.
Well, Springleaf Drum looking okay here, right? It's basically free.
Drummond might basically add up to a land here.
Right.
But they were kind of like a Mox.
But if you don't play any other creatures for a while, or at least a little while, the Haywire Might either requires an answer or prevents you from playing an answer like Leyline Binding or the Beanstalk.
Yeah, but that Fury's already in hand. Like I just imagine that Haywire Might is going to get picked off by this Fury.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have even played the Haywire Might this turn. Maybe just go Springleaf Thoughtseize and leave the Haywire kind of sitting in hand for a while.
Depends what's in hand. If Hovader has a plan for the mana in the next turn or two, then I'm fine with it. If not, then I would have considered otherwise.
Yeah, maybe double Tarmogoyf next turn or something. Is that kind of cool?
Terrasunder?
Maybe. Terrasunder is a common sideboard card these days. One of the better interactive pieces.
Not in Mangus's deck. It's got to be like it's either a Bean or a Force of Vigor.
Might be a Back to Nature.
No, that's in the other deck. The only mono green cards in
I thought you said John Saga had Back to Nature.
Yeah, but I was looking at Mangus's hand.
Oh, I didn't see what he drew. There's
Yeah.
a weird card in Daniel's hand. I can't tell it
Yeah.
either. So.
Mangus drew a green card, and the only mono green cards in his deck are Force of Vigor and Up the Beanstalk. That's a Tarmogoyf.
Oh, it's a force then. I see it. All right. Here's Haywire Might. A smash for one. I guess smash is overshooting it a little. I'm gonna
So we
ping
got
you for one.
4/5 Tarmogoyf on my count. Land, sorcery, creature, artifact.
Land, sorcery, creature, artifact. Looks like that to me. Here's a nice peel. Shardless Agent. That's gonna become a Beanstalk, and we're
Oh.
gonna draw a card.
Yeah, it'll draw a card and answer the Haywire Might. We gonna shock here? We could use the drum to make green for the might, unless Hovetter. Ooh, is this a
I think it's Bowmaster.
yeah, Bowmaster deal with your Shardless Agent?
Yeah. So actually, that's not how that is gonna work. If he does try to kill the Shardless, Shardless still on the stack. So if that comes down,
Yeah, so
it's
this-
gonna shoot. Yeah, that can't happen. All right, I'm gonna go stop this. 1 second.
Yeah, Shardless Agent is on the stack still, so not a valid target for Orcish Bowmaster. And this play could end up being pretty bad for Hovatter if Mangus is able to find a red card to pitch to the Fury, where Hovatter's tapped out. We can deal with the Bowmaster, the 2/2 Orc Army, and the Haywire Might with the Fury, draw a card off the Up the Beanstalk, and sort of have most of everything on the other side of the battlefield dealt with while having your card advantage engine in the Up the Beanstalk established. So a little bit antsy here with that Orcish Bowmaster was Hovatter, and I think he is going to pay the price. Yeah, Todd just bringing the judge over and explaining what we have seen. And they'll get it squared away. Shouldn't be anything more than a GRV and a failure to maintain. Warnings all around.
That's all right.
Yeah.
People hear the word warning, they get all scared.
Scared.
What really happens? Excuse me. Let me get my headset back on. What really happens here is that we'll rewind slightly. Hovatter will basically just be dealing one to face twice. The Shardless Agent cannot be targeted on the Beanstalk draw.
Todd.
Yeah.
While they're figuring this out, I have some news.
What's that?
Clinton Endicott has defeated David Tobias on table 6.
Okie
David
dokie.
Tobias was our X1 who was paired down. So that means there will be one 12-point player, 1-4-2 record that sneaks into our top 8.
Okay.
So even the players that are losing these matches are now entered into that tiebreak lottery.
Okay, well, whoever's tiebreakers do end up best could squeak into 8th place. Now, that doesn't account for one of our 4-1 matches getting an unintentional draw, which very easily could happen. Modern games can go quite long. Here, you see our clock trimming down. We'll make sure these players get some time adjustment because judge calls do often take a little while.
Yes, they will get the appropriate extension. I think both players just explain their side. We agree what's going on. Judge will explain what the fix is, and well, I can hear Garrison in the other room talking to them about the fix. I
Well,
wonder how. I assume we back up to the point where the Orcish Bowmaster targeted an illegal target.
yes, and then that should basically say target face.
Yeah.
We'll get another Bowmaster trigger from the
Yeah. Mangus
Beanstalk.
will put a random card from his hand back on top of his deck from the Up the Beanstalk. He'll just draw it again as we proceed through the triggers correctly, so no harm, no foul there, but this is just dotting the I's.
Yeah, to make sure. So sometimes when you draw a card, especially in a format with free stuff, you could like pitch a subtlety or whatever after you drew a card. Stuff like that.
So it doesn't look like Mangus found the red card. So what I was explaining while you were gone, this misstep from Hovatter taps him out, and we know there's a Fury in hand for Mangus. If he can pitch cast it, he can deal with the Orc Army, which is still going to be a 2/2, the Bowmaster, and the Haywire Might, leave his Up the Beanstalk on the battlefield, and have sort of his engine online, just have to deal with the Tarmogoyf, and we know he also has a Solitude. But it looks like he found more white cards, doesn't have the red card to pitch to the Fury and punish Hovatter here for tapping out.
Okay, well, we're going to go back Hovatter's way after we got that judge call sorted out. And while the time on the clock says 18 minutes, they have closer to 22 or 23. We'll get that confirmed by the judge here in just a minute and get that time added. Looks like we still got one more clarification question here going on here from Hovatter. We'll see if there was any confusion there.
That is a big win for Hovatter not to have a red card come up, either as the card for turn or the card drawn off the up the beanstalk for James Mangus.
Oh, so Mangus, so he's actually curious on. So there's like two or three different kinds of warnings when it comes to tournament magic. There's like failure to maintain, which is often like a passive warning, like a hey, try to be better. The passive warnings don't really upgrade into anything relevant
They used
unless
to call them cautions. They've gotten rid of that.
But when it's your effect and you make a mistake that is advantageous, especially, the warnings can accrue over time and ultimately end with you getting a game loss after 3. Mangus there just getting some clarification on exactly what's going to happen. But
yeah, likely hasn't had a warning like that today, so still relatively safe.
All right, here's Unholy Heat.
Okay, so Hovatter getting aggressive there, really using that on Holy Heat. That was only necessary to attack with the Bowmaster. You could still have traded the Orc Army or still attacked with the Tarmogoyf into it. Very aggressive play. But
Yeah,
with
we
not
also-
much going on in hand, makes sense.
We're also going to go ahead and target the Beanstalk here with the Haywire Might, but in response, Mangus is going to go ahead and pitch Solitude and get to draw a card. And then the Bowmaster will deal one more to face.
Yeah.
But we will get to eat either the Tarmogoyf or the Bowmaster. My guess is the Goyf because it's large.
Yeah, and you have the Fury in hand to deal with Bowmaster later.
Okay, and now Haywire Might takes care of the Beanstalk and gains some life. Players here just doing some butt keeping on life totals because a lot of life changes this turn.
Hovatter going to gain 4 from the Solitude on the Goyf, going to gain 2 from the Haywire Might. 6 total. And now we get in an attack for 4 with the 3/3 Orc Army and the Bowmaster. Oh, okay. Now we see why Hovatter was so aggressive about using the Unholy Heat. His last card in hand is a Rogavan. So now we can dash this Rogavan, get an attack in for 6, start making some treasures.
All right, here. Going to go back Mangus's way.
Sad. That would have been a fun one to cast. No mana left for the Shardless Agent. Okay, so 4 cards left in hand for Mangus. We know about the Fury. We just drew a land. Is that a Leyline Binding? And I can't tell what the other card is.
Might be an Eagle. I think it's a binding, though. All right.
Okay, both players neither player's really established a card advantage engine here. They've gotten a little bit of card advantage here and there. But nobody's pulled really far ahead, so I think the next couple draw steps for both players are going to be very important.
Well, we know Mangus has Fury, so if we can find land number 5, this binding is going to take care of the largest creature on the other side, or the most important, and that's going to be the Rogavan.
The most important, not just because of the Rogavan's ability and how powerful it is there, but also because Hovatter's been dashing it, so it's the one that Fury is not going to be able to touch.
Exactly. Okay, in a turn we're going to go fetching, probably a second red source.
Yeah, Mangus fetching down to 4 life, so really needs to find a land this turn.
Yeah, and even if it's a fetch, it can still work, but it will put him down to 1, and any future Bowmaster, Lightning Bolt, or Hasted creature could kill him, so he's got to be very careful.
Yeah, could find a red card to evoke the Fury, but then he's left with nothing, and it's just a top deck war when you're heavily disadvantaged in life total.
Okay, moment of truth. What you got, James? Down a game. Finds Hallowed Fountain, so we can fetch a land, go to 3, and that could be a plains or an island. It's going to save him a lot of grief later on.
But fetching down to 3.
Bolt range. Question is, how many bolts are still in the Jund Saga's deck after sideboard? Can't be too many. Not a lot of great targets. Does hit the Evoke Elementals, but that's not usually the front you're trying to fight on. Okay, going to fetch Daniel Hovatter down to 17. 17 to 3. Again, this is only game number 2. Mangus needs to win this game to force a third.
Yeah, This is a 3-turn clock from the Fury, and Hovatter, I don't think has any cards left.
Yeah.
I think this is Hellbent. I've got 4 lands, a treasure, and a Springleaf Drum. Not sure what the card left over for Mangus is.
I think there's 2, maybe? Could just be 1. Okay. Daniel's Way. Draws. It's just a Saga. That's
Okay.
decent, but it's not lethal for a while. Doesn't do anything this turn specifically. I saw a split card off the top from Mangus. Maybe Ice. Ice on upkeep on the Saga keeps him from making a token.
That would be quite nice. We
Oh!
knew there was a force from much earlier. That was the last card, and that's an excellent one.
Okay, back Hovatter's Way. Bolt you? No, just a fetch land. Mangus smashing for 6. 1 turn clock for Daniel Hovatter.
Yeah.
Can he find the bolt or something here to stay alive?
Well, you don't want to crack this fetch, and then you're dead to fire. Yeah, he realizes it.
Okay, draw for turn.
A creature is not good enough because you can ice any creature. Assassin's Trophy.
Assassin's Trophy, the game keeps going. Okay.
Oh, but there's a Solitude for Mangus. That was the draw. So we can just play Solitude, attack for 3, fire upstairs.
Okay. That looks like Mangus is going to take game number 2, and we're going to have a deciding game 3 in just a moment. This is 5 damage, 3 from Solitude, 2 from the fire, and now we're going to go to our third and final game. Daniel Hovatter defeated in game number 2.
Yeah, Mangus wisely saves some time there. Probably shouldn't have even grabbed his deck from the trophy. As soon as my opponent shows me that, I know they're empty-handed. Just show them that they're dead. Because this last game could take a while, and a draw could be beneficial to them. Because as I said, the X1 on the pair down lost. So if the other 2 matches that are 2 4-1s playing come to a natural conclusion, a draw would get them both in.
Yeah, they don't necessarily know that. And if another table at 4-1 draws either intentionally or by accident, one of them could be on the outside looking in, and they don't want to leave that to chance. They want to earn that slot themselves.
I can say that one of the backup matches has finished. Alex Treadway is reported 2-1 with Team of Rhinos over Chris Kulo on Is It Murktide. So Treadway going to be the second Team of Rhinos player in our top 8, joining May French, who swept through the Swiss with a 4-0 record.
Yeah, the Rhino deck looking pretty good. A little more consistent, I guess, than the Cascade Beans deck, but obviously they're much different strategies. One using the 4/4s as a focal point for that cheap interaction. The other trying to play a much longer game and grind the opponent into dust. And May taking the aggressive slant that's paid off, and looks like it's paid off for, was it Treadway as well?
Alex Treadway, yes. And you see the other backup match still playing there. That's TJ Radizak. We've seen on Golgari Yawgmoth playing against Great Tongue. They are playing 4-color Omnath as well. So these are our 2 4-color decks still remaining in the tournament. Could have 0 in the top 8, could have 2.
All right, players here are just about ready for game number 3. We have James Mangus playing 4-color Omnath Beans with Shardless Agent and Bloodbraid Elf for that heavy Cascade package to find more beans. Against Daniel Hovatter's Jun Sagavin deck, looking to Thoughtseize and break down both opponents' low resources and win on the back of Renin 6 and Urza Saga. We haven't seen a ton of this Jun Sagavin deck over the last couple years since Modern Horizons 2 came out, but it was an interesting innovation early on, and one that's kind of stayed as a niche archetype throughout its tenure here in Modern.
Yeah, it's generally pretty good in mid-range mirrors. That's why I think it's seen a little bit of a resurgence since Rakdos Evoke has become very popular, but kind of easy to go over the top of in a lot of situations. And if you have good answers to Urza Saga, it does not like to see those, Alpine Moon and the like.
All right, game number 3 about to be underway. See if Daniel wants to keep the opener. James's hand looks solid. I see a couple lands and some spells, but Hovatter, a little light on lands, I believe. Going to throw back a turn 1 Ragavan hand, looking for something a bit better. James looks like he's going to keep.
Mangus survives in this match after some stumbling in both of the first 2 games, and it might be Hovatter's turn in this pivotal game 3. If I'm Mangus, I'm just saying, don't have, the turn 1 Thoughtseize. Let me just get a turn 2 Bean. I just want to play a game where I've got a Bean out early, and I can generate that card advantage, because that is going to be very helpful in a matchup like this.
All right. Down to 6 is Daniel. We'll see if he can find a 6 he likes. Hopefully it leads with a Ragavan or a Thoughtseize, something to kick us off. I see a Ragavan. Is there a land? I see a Vernic Catacombs. This looks like a keep. My guess is going to put Haywire Might back, but might hold that in case of Leyline Binding or
Uh,
something early.
I also see two Sagas that can. Oh,
Maybe there wasn't a Verdict Catacombs. Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah, I can't imagine that you mulligan that hand if there's a colored source, a Ragavan, and an Urza Saga, and any other cards.
Yeah. Could have been the Assassin's Trophy, that black green card, just kind of poking out there. Don't always get the best look at the opening hands. Hope
So,
are going to look for a better 5.
you know, mulliganing to 5 is never a good thing, but when you're a Ren and 6 deck, there's an easy way to undo it.
Yeah.
2 lands, Ren and 6, 2 spells.
That'll do it.
And Urza Saga counts as a spell.
That's true. That's true. All right. I see Bowmaster, Bolt. I see a Saga. Do I see a colored source of land? I don't, but I guess there is one, unless we're just going to keep a real bad 5.
Yeah,
Children's Edict?
not sure.
I think I do see a land that's not Saga hanging out in there, so I think we have a game. All right. Yep.
Not
There
a
we go.
great 5 though. The Ren and 6 is the obvious thing I'm always looking for, but I also love a Ragavan on the play in this matchup because there's no 1-mana removal from Mangus. Either has to let the Ragavan hit once or use a pitch elemental early for no value.
All right, but we do have the turn 1 Thoughtseize, so we do have some protection here from an early bean.
Okay.
Nothing of the sort from James Mangus. A bunch of interaction. Fire Ice, Fury, Force of Vigor, and Magmatic Sinkhole. Let's get Magmatic Sinkhole on the screen because this is one we don't see a ton. When it was first previewed in Modern Horizons 1, there's actually a card I talked to Jerry Thompson about. He did a little bit of work on Modern Horizons 1, and this was a card that he was very excited about coming out. And over time, though, it just kind of got outpaced by other things, and now Unholy Heat just kind of makes this look embarrassing most of the time. But Unholy Heat gets caught in the Cascade chain, whereas Magmatic Sinkhole doesn't.
Yes, so Sinkhole playing a role here. That's a singleton or maybe a 2 out of the sideboard. Interesting choice here from Hovatter. Takes the Fire Ice with the Thoughtseize, clearly looking to protect his Bowmaster.
Right. And I mean the hand from Mangus, if the Fury's going to come down, you want the Fury or sorry, if something's going to kill your things, you'd rather be a pitch than a 1-for-1.
Yeah. I just think relying on an early Bowmaster to do that much heavy lifting in this game is a folly. I would have been looking, assuming on my 5-card hand, I'm not going to end the game that quickly, so the game's going to go on for a while. I want to take the more powerful card out of the hand, so I'm looking at Fury, or I'm looking at Force of Vigor because it's unique in what it does in destroying enchantments, and he does have an Urza Saga. Now, there was no green card in hand for Mangus, so maybe you're thinking I can get away with this one Urza Saga before the Force of Vigor happens.
Well, even if Force of Vigor happens, it's usually they're pitching to deal 2-for-1 as long as you don't play another artifact or anything from hand. Obviously, Saga makes some cardboard to go along with it, but
Yeah, and the Force will clean up the constructs later anyway, so I would have been looking at one of those 2 cards, but we'll see how much damage that this Bowmaster can really get in, because there's not a great answer to it in Mangus's hand, unless he wants to use the Fury evoking.
yeah, I think that's going to be what he has to do at some point. We're going to go back Hovatter's way after this end of turn Bowmaster. We find land number 3, and that's a green source as well. We're going to smash for 2, put Mangus down to 17, and pass the turn back, threatening to start making constructs.
Yeah, third land was a nice draw, and we've got a nice aggressive plan coming to fruition here. I think there's a Bolt in Hovatter's hand too, so maybe just saying, you know what, I'm on 5 cards. Let's not play that mid-range game now. I'm the beat down.
Yeah. James here looking at a hand that is rather weak, all things considered. 2 Fury and a Magmatic Sinkhole are okay, but it looks like we're just going to evoke a Fury, pitching the Sinkhole, and we're going to knock off both of these creatures on the other side, dealing like 3 and 1 or whatever.
Yeah. Gotta feel pretty good about that. If you're Daniel Hovatter, that's 1 card back, essentially, in the card advantage war.
Okay, Hovatter going to go ahead and fetch in response, so maybe has something that can save the Orcish Bowmasters, but may just be fetching preemptively to play around a disenchant on the Saga, so you can make a construct.
Update on our backup match. TJ Radizak falling to Grey Tongue. Golgari Yawgmoth losing to 4-color Beans. So got at least 1 Bean deck in our top 8. Congratulations to Grey. They will be live to compete to make it into our invitational next month. TJ still playing in that, still in the tiebreaker lottery. Could potentially make it in.
Now, TJ is already qualified for the Invitational next month. He did get second at our last event, following to Don Delosier with Rakdos Evoke. He was playing that same Golgari Yawgmoth deck. Unfortunately, one win short of getting into the elimination rounds. And we know, of course, his tiebreakers are not going to be close to good enough since he did lose round one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
All right, so Fury resolves. We're going to go get a land and make a construct. We're going to go back Hovader's way. And do we make another construct? I
Yeah.
think the answer is yes.
I think you got to go for max value here. Is this going to be the fetch doesn't
We're going to
get
play
us-
around the needle again. We
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
this earlier from Mangus.
Yeah, just playing around the pithing needle. And what are we getting here? Could get Haywire Might.
Yep, I think we mulligan that one back into the deck. We could also go get Springleaf Drum just to have a little more mana.
I'm inclined to get something that may be worth a full card in some point of the game. I don't think the tempo from additional mana is relevant here.
It's a good reason to have one Mishra's Bauble in decks like Jund Saga. They originally, I think, were playing like 3 when the deck was first created. Now they're very low, usually 0.
We do see the Haywire Might pulled up here. Yeah, I would have loved to get a Bauble here. I think that would have been it. Ooh, Shadow Spear. You know that there's a Force of Vigor in Mangus's hand.
Yeah, but that one's likely going to just target the 2 constructs in play.
And then you've just got this poopy Shadow Spear.
I agree. I like a Springleaf Drum a bit better. But Hovader is saying, hey, maybe he doesn't draw the green card. Maybe he doesn't have a 4th land. I think we probably know there's a 4th land, but attack you. 3 points coming across. Mangus down to 13.
And Hovader's got a Bolt back and a Mystery card. So if Mangus just, even if he fetch shocks and doesn't have to do that, just has the basic forest. So
Okay.
no extra damage taken here. We can just Force a Vigor down these constructs.
Now, you might want to wait for Hovader to try to equip, because Hovader likely to do that since we did fetch up the Shadow Sphere. We could burn 2 more mana from him.
I think that's a Bowmaster drawn for Hovader, so that's a nice one.
All right, here comes an attack for 6. Mangus going to blow up the Shadow Sphere and a construct, leaving just a 1/1 construct in play, valuing the trample and +1/+1 from the Shadow Sphere later more than that 1/1.
And you drew a Fire Ice last turn, so now you've got a 1/1 construct that's easily picked off by fire.
All right, Mangus cruising now. We're going to fetch, and we have the ability to play Shardless Agent and Fire Ice. I feel like this is a nice turning point for Mangus and should put him really far ahead on overall resources. The Fire Ice is going to take care of the Bowmaster and the Construct. Whew.
That'll play.
All right, here's Shardless. We're going to go looking. We're going to put Beanstalk on the stack. Shardless goes to the bottom. Beanstalk on the stack. We're going to play Bowmaster. Going to deal 1 to face. And Mangus.
As we learned last game, you can't hit the Shardless Agent yet.
All right, 1 to each creature.
Yeah, kill that before you get a second trigger off the draw from the bean.
Yep. And the Orc Army will stay at 1/1 because it doesn't grow from the draw. It just grows from the Bowmaster itself. Amass 1. And now Beanstalk's going to drop.
I think they're just okay. Yeah, there was a construct in the graveyard. Get that out of there. Yeah.
Okay.
We had construct and Bowmaster. One go to the graveyard, one goes away, and we reversed it. There's another Fire Ice. I think a Fury is the other card in hand for Mangus.
Yeah, great spot for Mangus here. That Fury next turn will be able to deal with a bunch of stuff on Hovader's side and draw a card off the Beanstalk. So, really tough spot for Hovader.
Yeah, Hovader tried to play this game aggressively, and Mangus had a ton of interaction.
Right. Mulligan of 5 certainly doesn't help either.
Yeah. Yeah, not sure how much better Hovader would have fared had he, maybe taken the Force of Vigor and tried to play a game with the Urza Saga. Because then the Fire Ice takes care of the early Bowmaster. You get to save that other Fury, probably even save that Sinkhole. Those are probably going to deal with those constructs anyway. So I think it all comes out pretty much the same in the wash, but and the end result is that Hovader falls to 4 and 2.
Okay, Bolt on the 2/2. And I believe we have a Boseiju in hand as well, so we can actually blow up the Beanstalk if we want to, but it will give Mangus another land to work with. Here comes Fury. It's going to draw a card off the beans. Does Hovatter have another Bowmaster or something?
And now your Beseiju looks even sadder because you can't stop. They've already put the trigger on the stack, so I think this Fury is going to end the game in short order.
We'll see. It's a 2-turn clock. If Hovatter does have another Orcish Bowmaster, he can play it and generate some blockers, but we know Mangus, I think, has another Fire Ice in hand, so a really tough spot for Hovatter. Yep, he does. Okay, we're going to go back his way. 8 life points for Mangus. We'll see if Hovatter can do anything about it. I see Unholy Heat.
Yeah, it immediately starts counting the graveyard.
All right, that's enough. Bang. Kill your 3/3.
Urza Saga's very good at giving you Delirium.
That's true. Do you have Delirium? Yeah, I have it on 2 cards.
Okay, we'll get in for another 2. But then now both players are going to be on empty. I mean, Mangus will still have the card they draw this turn.
Maybe the card from Hovatter. Oh, it was a Beseiju. Okay, so didn't really want to give him the land last turn, but now says, I guess a land is less important than the cards you can chain off. I wish he had done that last turn.
Yeah, punishing. Not sure, like, what are you saving the Beseiju for? Leyline Binding?
Well, I think he was just saving the mana to play Bowmaster and be aggressive was the trick.
And that's how he's played this entire game.
Right.
So I don't mind continuing the aggressive lines. You got your opponent at 6. You can steal this game with a couple bolts.
Yep. Here's Fire Ice. 1 each to the Bowmaster.
Another Bowmaster could represent 3 damage.
Ooh, and a Beanstalk off the top. That's going to keep...
Ooh, Beanstalk to Fairy, Leyline Binding. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones left.
All right, we're going to go fetching. Basic Island down to 5. We found a Teferi, Time Raveler. We can use that to bounce our own bean.
But 5 life. There's some outs here for Hovatter.
Okay. Down to the wire. Hovatter, what you got? Nothing. Passes back. Mangus's way. Senses victory. Going to try to pull it out here in time. 20 seconds left on the clock, and then we have 5 additional turns. We're going to start with Cascade. We're going to find a Beanstalk and draw a card. See what we draw. And we have Teferi to minus and draw another, and then replay the Beanstalk again and draw another. So baseline, that is what we can do for the turn. Let's see if we can leverage that into victory in these extra turns.
I think Mangus is only going to have 2 more turns after this to try to close the game out.
All right. We're going to go inform these players that it's time in the round, since they're on a special clock here for the feature match area. And then once that happens, James Mangus will be turn 0, and then Hovatter will have 1, 3, and 5 to win. Mangus will have 0, 2, and 4 to win.
But the draw for Hovatter might let them both be in. So this actually works pretty well for Daniel. It's a little worse for Mangus because he loses some seeding equity.
Well, I mean, it looks like Mangus isn't necessarily going to be able to clamp it down. You know, we drew a bunch of cards and just passed turn with the 2/2. So back Hovatter's way. We found Haywire Might. That's a start. It's going to make it very difficult for him to kill you.
Yeah,
we even have a Fatal Push in hand, so we can use that to blow up the 2/2. Up to 14.
Gain 2. Fatal Push your Charlotte's Agent.
Man, what if these players draw here unintentionally and then are paired again in the top 8 immediately? All right, turn number 2. Mangus needs to put down a threat here that can deal 14 damage. Oh, well, I guess a couple of threats to deal 14 damage. Here's an Omnath. We're going to start by drawing a
fetch
card.
land in play still, so another fetch here
Oh
can deal
my,
4.
found Fury. That's 10. Can we deal 4 more with the Omnath?
Yeah, because we have the other fetch here. So we double fetch, we deal 4 with the Omnath, get you to 10, play the Fury, and have 10 damage on board.
Wow. If Hovatter can't find any damage prevention here, Mangus is going to be able to deploy 14 points worth of stuff over this one full turn cycle.
Incredible sequence of draws to win this game.
Yeah. Omnath into Fury.
Yeah.
Has the extra fetch land rolled up. Down to 10.
And a lesson in not cracking your fetch lands willy-nilly.
We call them Willard. Willard Nillard. Get him right.
So we got 4 mana from the Omnath, plus the Rogran Triome will cast the Fury, and the Teferi can bounce a blocker. And we have a Leyline Binding too.
Okay, we're going to draw a card. No targets for the damage. Here we go. 10 power in play.
So
Okay.
It's got to be a removal spell.
It's got to be Lightning Bolt, I think. What is it? Draws for turn. Blocker doesn't do it. Teferi can bounce it. It's just a land. Daniel Hovatter defeated
Wow.
2-1 in favor of James Mangus, and he will be punching his ticket to the top 8. And for some lucky person at X and 2, 4 and 2, they are going to be squeaking into
Yeah.
the top 8. So,
So an absolute dagger for Hovatter. At least we know. Hopefully that never finds out. But
well, hopefully he finds out and he's 8th. You know,
yeah,
still a shot.
could sneak in at 4 and 2 still, but a lot less likely to make it in after that
All right.
incredible runner Omnath into Fury, and I don't think there was any other way to deal lethal on turn 4.
I'm a little flabbergasted by that. That was impressive stuff.